The 1970s gets a terrible reputation in automotive history, but the truth is, the British car industry was absolutely bursting with brilliant ideas. Designers were taking massive risks with geometry, engineers were experimenting with cutting-edge tech, and the UK genuinely believed it could take on the world's best. But a brilliant concept doesn't always equal market success. Between economic collapse, shocking factory quality control, and boardroom politics, some of the best cars of the decade were fundamentally sabotaged. Today, we're counting down 10 1970s British cars that deserved a massive win, but got completely cheated instead. Number 10. Jensen GT. Imagine having a brilliant open-top sports car, but realizing the market suddenly wants practical grand tourers. That's the exact corner Jensen Motors was backed into by 1975. Their solution? Take the existing Jensen Healey Roadster, weld a shooting brake-style glass roof onto the back, and call it the Jensen GT. It was an absolute masterclass in packaging. Suddenly, you had a lively sports car with enough luggage room in the back for a cross-country road trip, plus a cabin dripping with premium trim and deeply bolstered seats. Under the hood sat a highly advanced 2.0-liter twin-cam four-cylinder engine designed by Lotus, giving it the mechanical teeth to back up its new, sophisticated look. The tragedy here isn't that the car was bad. It was actually exactly what the market wanted. The tragedy is that Jensen Motors ran out of money almost immediately after launch. The company went into receivership. The factory doors slammed shut, and only a tiny handful of these practical, Lotus-powered fastbacks ever escaped into the wild. Number 9. Hillman Avenger. If you want to talk about unsung heroes, we have to talk about the Hillman Avenger. Launched in 1970, this wasn't trying to be an exotic supercar. It was built to take on the daily grind of the British family. And for a while, it did it beautifully. Instead of copying outdated rivals, Hillman gave the Avenger crisp, modern lines and an incredibly balanced chassis. It handled beautifully on twisty roads, was remarkably easy to fix in the driveway, and its range of simple overhead valve engines were virtually bulletproof. It was the honest, comfortable family car that Britain desperately needed. So why did it fail to leave a legacy? Total corporate chaos. During its lifespan, the car was passed around like a hot potato as its parent company shifted from Roots to Chrysler and eventually to Talbot. Every time the badge on the grille changed, the marketing budget evaporated, leaving this genuinely excellent family saloon to wither on the vine while the competition got all the spotlight. Number 8. Reliant Scimitar GT. The Reliant Scimitar GT is the ultimate victim of bad branding. When you hear the word Reliant, your brain immediately goes to the three-wheel plastic joke that is a Reliant Robin. But the Scimitar GT was a completely different beast, a sleek, fiberglass-bodied shooting brake that was so cool, even Princess M bought one. In fact, she owned 9 of them over her life. Reliant essentially invented a whole new genre of car here. By stuffing a heavy-duty 3.0-liter Ford Essex V6 engine under the hood, they created a relaxed, high-speed motorway cruiser. But because it had that wagon-like rear end, you could actually throw a massive amount of luggage or sports gear in the back. It was fast, it didn't rust, and it was practical enough for a family holiday. But the public just couldn't separate the premium Grand Tourer from the company's budget three-wheelers. If this exact car had a Jaguar or BMW badge on the nose, it would be celebrated as an all-time legend today. Number 7. Jaguar XJC. Look at the Jaguar XJC. Just look at it. Launched in 1975, this pillarless coupe is arguably one of the most stunning silhouettes to ever come out of the United Kingdom. By removing the central B pillar, Jaguar took their standard XJ saloon and turned it into pure, unadulterated automotive art. Step inside, and it was pure old-world luxury, creamy leather, polished walnut veneers, and absolute silence, whether you picked the silky 4.2-liter straight-six or the monstrously smooth 5.3-liter V12. But building a pillarless coupe is a structural nightmare. Jaguar's engineers struggled for years to stop the chassis from flexing and to keep water from leaking past the frameless side windows at high speeds. Because of these massive development delays, the car arrived years late, cost far too much to build, and was dropped after a tiny production run. It's a gorgeous masterpiece that was simply defeated by its own engineering complexity. Number 6. TVR 3000M. In the 1970s, TVR was operating out of a small facility in Blackpool, doing things entirely their own way. And in 1972, they perfected their formula with the 3000M. This car was a pure, unfiltered sports car experience. TVR built a lightweight tubular space-frame chassis, wrapped it in a tight fiberglass body, and dropped a 3.0-liter Ford to fifth six right in the middle. Because the car weighed next to nothing, it was blindingly fast, fiercely loud, and handled with a level of telepathic precision that put multi-million-dollar Italian exotics on notice. The interior had zero gimmicks, just a steering wheel, a row of gauges, and an immediate connection to the road. The only thing that held the 3000M back was the scale of the company itself. TVR simply didn't have the manufacturing capacity or the global dealership network to sell these in massive numbers. It remained a cult secret for hardcore enthusiasts, rather than the global smash hit its performance deserved. Number 5. Austin Princess. When the Austin Princess debuted in 1975, it looked like a prop from a sci-fi movie. Designed by Harris Mann, its extreme wedge shape was a massive gamble that completely tore up the traditional, boring three-box sedan blueprint. And the innovation didn't stop at the styling. It rode on British Leyland's advanced hydrogen suspension system, meaning it floated over bumps with the composure of a premium French luxury car. The cabin was massive, offering executive-level legroom and unmatched comfort for a very reasonable price tag. But the executives made a baffling mistake. Even though the car had a long, sweeping fastback rear end that begged for a practical hatchback door, they engineered it with a tiny, restrictive, conventional trunk lid. That single design oversight, paired with the typical 1970s British Leyland factory quality issues, completely tanked the reputation of what should have been a revolutionary family vehicle. Number 4. Triumph Stag. The Triumph Stag had the potential to be a massive global goldmine. Giovanni Michelotti handled the styling, creating a drop-dead gorgeous four-seat convertible featuring a structural T-bar roof that gave it immense stiffness and a completely unmistakable profile. Instead of playing it safe and buying a proven engine, Triumph decided to build their own bespoke 3.0-liter V8. On paper, it was perfect, delivering a beautiful, rhythmic rumble and effortless grand touring power. But in reality, that engine was a time bomb. Due to cost-cutting and poor casting, the cooling jackets were too small, leading to immediate overheating, warped cylinder heads, and snapped timing chains. Instead of being remembered as the ultimate Riviera cruiser, the Stag became famous for sitting on the shoulder of the highway with steam pouring out from under the hood. Number 3. Lotus Elite Type 75. Colin Chapman's Lotus was famous for building tiny, stripped-out track weapons like the 7 and the Elan. So when they launched the Elite Type 75 in 1974, it shocked everyone. This was a futuristic, wedge-shaped shooting brake meant to compete in the high-end luxury market. It featured a sophisticated, all-aluminum 2.0-liter engine, a lightweight fiberglass body, and perfect 50-50 weight distribution. Reviews at the time were stunned by the handling. It steered with absolute precision while still offering real room for 4 adults and their luggage. But Lotus picked the absolute worst moment to launch a high-priced, experimental Grand Tourer. The 1973 oil crisis hit right as production started, causing luxury buyers to flee towards safe, conservative choices. Combined with early electrical gremlins and a premium price tag, the brilliant Elite was left out in the cold. Number 2. Triumph Dolomite Sprint. Years before BMW perfected the formula of the fast, executive sports saloon with the 3 Series, Triumph had already nailed it with the 1973 Dolomite Sprint. The big news here was under the hood. Triumph engineered the world's first mass-produced multi-valve car engine, utilizing a clever single overhead cam design to operate 16 valves. The result was an absolute rocket ship of compact saloon. It could smoke dedicated sports cars away from the traffic lights, yet it still had 4 doors, a beautiful wood-trimmed dash, and a practical trunk for the family. It was a blueprint for the modern sports sedan. Sadly, British Leyland's toxic reputation for terrible build quality and rapid body rust completely starved the Dolomite Sprint to the international glory it deserved. It was light years ahead of its time, but let down by the era it was built in. Number 1. Rover SD1. Taking our number 1 spot is the ultimate story of what could have been. When the Rover SD1 rolled out in 1976, it looked like a European supercar wrapped in a practical 5-door hatchback body. The front nose was heavily inspired by the Ferrari Daytona, and it looked light years ahead of anything coming out of Germany at the time. It was a revelation. It won European Car of the Year in 1977. The motoring press went wild, and buyers lined up around the block. With a legendary 3.5-liter Rover V8 under the hood, it was fast, spacious, and incredibly modern. Then, the factory reality set in. Labor disputes, horrific paint finishes, interior plastics that would literally melt or peel off in the sun, and constant electrical failures turned this award-winning masterpiece into a consumer nightmare. Instead of completely dethroning BMW and Mercedes-Benz as the king of the executive driveway, the SD1 became a tragic reminder of an industry that could design world-class cars, but simply couldn't figure out how to build them properly. Ultimately, the 1970s British car industry didn't suffer from a lack of imagination. It suffered from a lack of execution. Every single car on this list had the DNA of a winner. Which of these forgotten heroes do you think deserved to win the most? Let us know in the comments. Smash that subscribe button, and we'll catch you in the next video.